Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session on student records and financial services. We are going to get started, and we'll wait for some more people to come in. They can just join us. My name is Katie Kosis. I'm the Director of Financial Aid here at Niagara University. Also presenting today will be Marty Howell, the Director of Student Accounts, and Sue Barber, who is our loan coordinator here at Niagara. I'm just going to start off the presentation, and then we'll turn it over to Marty, and then Sue will finish up. One thing I do want to mention is if you are on Facebook, or if your son or daughter is on Facebook, please have them like our Niagara University Niagara University Records and Student Financial Services. It's a long name, but type in Niagara University Financial and it'll pop up. Just make sure you like us to stay up to date with anything that's going on in our office. We'll put deadlines that are on there when grades are posted, because that's always a good topic. Students don't always share that. So make sure that you or they like that as well. And another thing that I do want to mention before I turn it over to Marty to start talking about our charges and billing process is that we know this is a very complicated process sometimes. We want to be here to help you with anything that you might come up with throughout the year. And we're here for the students for all 4 of their years. So if you have any questions, if they have any questions, please feel free to come into our office, into the Butler building, and we'll be here to assist you, either email, phone call, or stop in, and we'll help you out any way we can. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Marty Howell. She's going to talk about our billing process, and then I'll talk about the financial aid process.
Welcome, everybody. It's wonderful to see you all here. As Katie said, we're located in the Butler building, which is right down either one of these streets on both sides, and we're on the opposite side of the bookstore. So it's a little brown building right down there behind the academic complex. So you're welcome to stop in and see us at any time. We do have open door policy. We'd be happy to see you at any point. As you can see from the slide, we are on summer hours right now. That's 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Thursday, until noon on Friday. And then in August, we go back to regular hours, and that's 8:30 to 5. So we also gave you all of our contact information for all 3 offices. Records, student accounts, and financial aid are all in the same office. So we're a one-stop shop, and we really like to make sure that when you come in, we answer all of the questions that we can and take care of any concerns you may have. One of the things you're probably going to hear quite a bit about this weekend or this several days, is the FERPA regulations. And if your son or daughter does not fill out the FERPA regulation giving me permission to speak to you, I can't even tell you how much you owe. So it's really important that you have them fill that out so that we have permission to speak to you and you can find out what's going on. Also, our communication is primarily through students' MyNU email account. So after they get registered, from now on, all of the required documents, anything that's needed, any updates that they need to do will be through their MyNU email account. So make sure that they are checking that regularly and sending along anything to you that may be relevant for you to take care of. The basic charges, this lets you know that block tuition is between 12 and 18 credit hours. And this year it's $13,850 unless you decide to go with a level tuition plan. Our level tuition plan I will touch on again in a little bit, but that's where you lock in the tuition for all 4 years. So if a student were taking more than 18 credit hours, that's considered an overload, and that would be an additional $925 per credit hour. Or if they were less than 12 hours, that would also be $925. The student services fee covers a myriad of different things. And as you can see, it's listed, all of the things are listed in your handout and on the screen of what that covers. So it covers a lot of different things. Anybody that's registered full-time does pay that full-time registration fee. And for the first time, there is a one-time registration fee of $200. That's the first time that they are registered full-time, and everyone pays that the first semester. The double room rate is $59.75, and that's for room and board, which is their meals. The miscellaneous charges you may see would be overload, and that's again if they're over 18 credit hours. There are lab fees for theater course fees, which is $800 per course. Biology and chemistry is $175 per course. And the nursing skills fee for 4-year nursing students only, and it's $125 per semester. And the single room charges, depending on how they have that laid out, would either be $475 or $600 per semester. A parking decal for either the residents or commuters is for the entire year, and that's $80 for residents and $70 for commuters. Other things that you might see on the bill would be parking fines, library fines, residence hall restoration, health service charges, and judicial fines. Now, I don't put those on. The other offices send those over to me, and they go on your bill. I send out the bill. But if you have questions about that or concerns, on the back of the bill is a number for each and every office that you would need to contact, and you need to talk to them. Now, for health service charges, anything that would be on the bill would be normally for a prescription. So if a student goes in to see health services and they need an antibiotics, rather than sending a sick child or a sick student on to a drugstore and to get a prescription, they just fill it right here. We get the antibiotics in bulk, and we just pass on exactly what it costs us. So it's not very much money. So you might see $5, $10 sometimes if they get several different prescriptions as a charge. Now, if you get that covered by a flex account, you can contact Health Services. They can send you the information, and you can turn that in. This is the level tuition plan contract. Some of you have already signed it. Some of you are thinking about signing it. Some of you are not sure. We guarantee you will not lose money. One thing I will tell you is you pay $350 more per semester the first year. For the second year, students right now who are on level tuition last year rather, they're paying $50 less this year. So we guarantee you will not lose money. So if tuition doesn't go up as much as what we expect it to, and we find that you're going to not save as much as we thought, then what we would do is we would reduce tuition, which that happened several years ago. So if you decide that you want to do that, it's always best to turn in that contract before the bill goes out, so I bill you correctly. But if not, then I can always amend the bill, but just keep in mind the fact that that is another $350. So the board information, just so you know, everyone is resident students are put on a resident meal plan. It's a 10-meal plan per week, and then they have a $225 declining balance here in the Gallagher Center. If students get up early, they like breakfast, then that may not be enough meals for them, so they may want to change it to one of the higher meal plans. Again, there's no difference in cost. It's just is how your student eats. If they don't get up early and they stay up late, then they may want fewer meals over in Clay Dining Hall and more here in the Gallagher Center that stays open later. It's just a matter of what works best for them. So August 29th, they can make changes, and for the first 2 weeks of school, they can make changes. So just to figure out what works best for them. And they can change it again next semester if they don't like it. This would be your first bill. One of the things I want to point out is that there is only one billing address, and the student determines where the bill goes. So if there's a divorce situation or a grandparent is paying part of it, then you need to make a copy of the bill and send it on, or the student would have it go to who's paying the most. I mean, it's up to you to figure out where that is. So also, here is the date, and always charges are put on the first day of the semester. No matter when they're actually charged, that's how the bill prints. It always prints charges on the first day of the semester. So, and this tells you the semester. This is the description of what the charges are or the credits. These are the list of charges. These are the credits. And down here is pending financial aid. We realize that financial aid can't be posted until, TAP can't be posted until after add and drop. Loans can't be posted until the student signs a master promissory note, and until after 30 days have passed. So there's a lot of different things, but we still take that into account. As long as the student hasn't rejected that aid, then we will subtract it from the balance. And then the amount that you owe is right down here. It's also up here. One of the things you would not see on your bill, and that would be work study or outside private scholarships. By federal regulations, I am required to have an original signature on the work study deferment form. So if the student has been awarded work study and they want to put up to 90% on their bill, I would give them an immediate credit once I get that signed work study deferment form telling me they want to put 90% on. And I would put that on your account as a direct credit. Then through the rest of the semester, they work that off. They work off that amount that I have offered them. And if they don't make it all the first semester, then the award rolls over till next semester. But then the next semester, they get less of a deferment. So in other words, if I gave somebody $1,000 and they worked off $600, they would still owe me $400 of that work study. So then for spring, I would give them another $600 and they would still owe the full $1,000. So they can make up that work study award the next semester. Sometimes they just need a little bit of time to figure out schedules and figure out, their work schedule and their school schedule. It just takes time. So they can always make that up then the next semester. Outside private scholarships, because you may have to send in grades, you may have to send in what classes they're registered for, you may have to send in a bill. I don't know what you might have to do to get that dispersed to the account. So you need to take care of that, but on the back of the bill, you can let me know that there's outside private scholarships coming, and I'll take that into account. This is the back of the bill, and if I've already sent it out and you're borrowing another loan or there's an outside private scholarship, just note that right up here and send the top back in. So I have an idea of what's going on and I can put notes in the system. Also, in the middle of the bill, it's not on here, we kind of had to scrunch it to make it fit. There's information on how to sign up for the payment plan, how to check the account online, and how to make payments. So, and here are all of the phone numbers that I was telling you about if you need to contact one of those offices. We do have a payment plan, and as long as you sign up and make your first payment by August 10th, then you're on a 5-monthly payment plan for the fall, and then you sign up again for the spring. So, and then you have another 5 payments. So because the federal government considers me a lender if I have 5 payments, I say one is a down payment, and then there's 4 monthly payments. So it's still 5 payments, but it's terminology. So I don't have to fill out a whole lot of paperwork for the government. And you do have to apply every semester, so don't forget that. This is a payment plan bill, and as I said, it's first day of the semester, so here's the $25 that it costs to join, and then I've divided that by 5. So when you would get a bill every month, reminding you that it's due. And here's our online payment portal. You can go online, make a payment. We take online checks, MasterCard, Visa, Discover, American Express. Here's your October bill. And October is the month when students go out and they update their profiles and change their addresses. So if you are on the payment plan and you don't get an October bill, it's probably because they put their post office box on there. So that could be something that you would need to worry about right there. So just if you don't get an October bill, you probably need to call and find out what's going on. Also notice that here the parking decal was put on, and again, it's first day of the semester, and that's the balance that's due. Also, this blue here, if after the 1st of October, if you have any deferments that are still down here in the bottom, still pending aid, then something hasn't been done. Maybe they need to do a promissory note, maybe they need to do the entrance interview. Something needs to be done. If TAP is still down there, then maybe TAP doesn't have our school code, so maybe we haven't received that yet. So if you see something in October as a deferment, then you need to check on that and find out why. If you've been awarded a Perkins, October 15th, we'll be sending out emails to the students' MyNU email and telling them to go on to signmyloan.com and do their Perkins promissory note and entrance interview. And penalties. I do understand that life happens once you send your kids to school. So I truly do understand that. So I just want to make sure that you understand that I am here to help you as much as possible. If there's something you need to discuss with me, you have lost a job, something happened and you haven't gotten a bonus that you thought you were going to get, there's so many things that can happen. Then you give me a call and you let me know what's going on so I can see what we can do to help you. Maybe you need to take another few days to send in the payment or maybe a couple weeks. I can work with you on that. But if I don't receive any information, then there would be a 2% late fee on the amount that's due, and students would be held from registration until the account is paid in full. If you're on the payment plan, you need to make sure that all payments are current, otherwise they would get a hold for registration. And students normally register for the spring in November, so I start looking at that in October. So it's really important that everything is on time. Also, hold emails start going out at the end of September, and I would be telling students, and Susan also, if there's something that they need to do they need to do a promissory note? Do they need to take care of their TAP application? Something needs to be taken care of. They need to be looking at those hold emails. Anything that comes from our office needs to be looked at. Transcripts and other official documents would also be held until the account is paid in full.
Just one comment, the Perkins loan is August 15th. The emails will start going out, not October 15th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, you're in the realm of October. So August 15th for the Perkins loans emails, those will start going out then if the student had a Perkins loan in their package. Speaking of their package, this is an example of the award letter that your son or daughter most likely received. It does look a little different. We had to scrunch it, as Marty said, to put in the presentation. But the letter would say if the student was awarded as a commuter student or a resident student, that does potentially change the financial aid package. It would also include any merit scholarship. The student is receiving the presidential scholarship. They have TAP on their account, economic grant, which is from Niagara, and then their loans, subsidized, Perkins, and unsubsidized. So this is just a general example. Each student is different. Their package will be different. Some people might have work study, some people won't have a Perkins loan. So it just depends on the individual student. Any questions on that, feel free to ask us in either after the presentation or one of our staff members. Along with the paper award letter that was mailed out, also included in that packet would have been the missing information request form. Now this one would only tell the student if they owed additional information. Sometimes students are selected for verification by the government. About 30% of our students are selected. So it's not that you filled out anything incorrectly, it's just that they were selected. I was selected every single year when I was a student, so it doesn't really matter who you are, what it is, they will select you potentially. So if you are selected for verification, we do have to require some additional documentation from the student. One of the things would be a verification worksheet, which would have been sent out in this packet. You can also get it online or in our office. And also the income W-2s from both the student and the parent if they worked, and also the tax transcripts. Now, one of the options when filling out the FAFSA was to use the data retrieval tool, and that takes the information directly from the IRS and puts it into the FAFSA. And if you don't change anything, you're good to go. If you change something, then you might have to submit the tax transcript. The tax transcript is different from the 1040. It is not the 1040 that you fill out and file with the IRS. It is what happens after that is filed, and we need a copy of that. And you can request that free of charge at the irs.gov, and instructions are listed in the packet and also on our website. And you can either have them mail it to you and turn it into us, or you can actually download it right then and there and give us a copy of it. It doesn't have to be signed, but it would be the tax transcript and not the 1040s. So those are some of the things that we would require for missing documents. Also, potentially, we were asking for the award letter to be signed and turned in. We'll need that. Now, just as a reminder, starting tomorrow, we'll give it a couple weeks after the last summer orientation session. This is the last paper copy that your son or daughter will receive of the award letter. Everything from this point forward will be electronic. If a package has been revised, an email will be sent out to the student's MyNU email address, and then they can actually log into their web advisor account and view everything online, and they can accept and reject loans online as well. One of the programs that might have been in your financial aid package is the TAP Award, the Tuition Assistance Program from New York State. This is something, it is an application you have to fill out. It is something that would have been directly after you fill out the FAFSA form, although sometimes you're tired of after filling out the FAFSA form and you forgot to do it. So make sure you check on hesc.ny.gov to make sure that the application has been completed. You can also check with us after the presentation or in our office, and you can check anytime online as well. Make sure our school code is on there. Our school code is 0560. What happens is that when the TAP application is filled out, they actually just take the first school code that's listed on the FAFSA. So if you had UB or Canisius or Buff State on there, then that money is actually going to go to that school and not Niagara. So you need to make sure that in order that we get the money, that you change the school code. And we can do that for you as well if you have any questions on it. There is an income cutoff guideline for New York State higher education. If the student and parent combined net taxable New York State income is more than $80,000, then you would not be eligible for TAP. But if it's below that, I suggest you fill out the application so it is grant money. Some other financial concerns that students and parents will encounter during their first year and all years really, book money. Please make sure that your students come prepared with book money when they come to school, either if they're buying their books tomorrow or as it gets closer to school. They can check what books they need online through the campus bookstore, but it's not something that's automatically included in the financial aid package, so you do have to plan for that. One option, and Sue will talk about taking out some additional loans, that is one option to cover the book cost. However, the money won't be in until after they need the books. So one option we do have is you can actually transfer some of that additional money onto their bookstore account and to use before the money comes in. Now, if they don't have a refund or a credit coming back to them, another option we do offer here at Niagara is the emergency loan option, and that's if a student needs an extra book or if they need to get home quickly if something came up. We do offer a loan of up to $200 for the student that they would have 45 days to pay back with a 2% fee on, not interest, but right off the top, 2% fee. So that is an option that we do have here at Niagara, and they would come directly into our financial aid office in the Butler building. Satisfactory academic progress is something else that you should be mindful of and the students should be mindful of. In order to be eligible for federal aid, they need, and also to stay in school, they need to be completing a certain number of credits per semester and also maintaining a certain GPA per semester. The official guidelines are on our website, but what I like to say is that as long as the student is maintaining a 2.0, then they would be okay for SAP, what we call SAP. Situation changes. As Marty said, we know life happens and stuff unfortunately does occur, whether it be a reduction of income or a loss of a job. We know things happen. Unfortunately, you can't go back and switch the FAFSA that you just completed because it is based on the prior year. But what we will do is if you contact our office, we'll give you a special circumstance form to fill out and see if that changes anything that we can do a special circumstance and a professional judgment on to see if we could increase the financial aid package at all. Also, renewal FAFSA. I know if this is your first time having a child at school, you thought, woo, I'm done with the FAFSA, I did it once. Not so much. You have to do it every year. It's available January 1st of every year. For incoming students, they did have to do it a little bit earlier. We had usually a March deadline, February 15th, March. But for returning students, we say don't fill it out until about April 15th or at least when you get your taxes done, because we want to make sure that the tax information is correct and that it's being transferred over from the IRS. So they have a little bit longer to go the next following years. And all future communications, as I've said before, and probably you'll hear it 10 times today, everything will be going through their MyNU email. So after they register tomorrow, all communications from us will be going to their MyNU email. So please make sure that they are checking it and they hook it up to their phone and they don't delete it if it's from us, because that happens a lot. If it says it's from our office, Student Records and Financial Services, it is important. It's telling them that they're missing some piece of information, a deadline is coming up, they need to read that or forward it on to you so that you guys can have a copy of that, because everything will be going to the student's email. So make sure that they have that handy. One other thing before I pass it on to Sue is in your packet you would have had a checklist. It's a yellow sheet, it's an incoming checklist, and this pretty much, and Sue will go over some of the other requirements for the loans, but it does give you what you should be looking at before the student comes to school. Payment plans, LTP if you want to sign up for that, TAP application, promissory notes, and Parent Plus and private alternative loans. It gives direct links on any of these, and of course, if you have any questions now, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, please let us know. We're here in our office in the Butler building. Any one of us can help with any of the questions. So I know we'll probably think of something tomorrow when you're doing something else, so don't feel any hesitation in contacting us.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to be covering the purple handout that you received. Don't be afraid. It's all about loans. There are 3 types of loans we're going to be covering today. The first one are the students' federal loans, and those are a direct result of the FAFSA. We also have a federal parent loan. It's called the Parent Plus loan, and we also have private alternative loans. So the first one, the direct loans, filling out the FAFSA is the application for the students' federal loans. It stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. There are 2 types, subsidized and unsubsidized. The subsidized, the government will pay the interest on the loans for the student while they're in school. And on the unsubsidized, it's the student's responsibility to pay the interest while they're in school. Subsidized are more desirable, but they are based on financial need. So the more need you have, the more chance you have of getting a subsidized loan. The loans for your standard freshman are currently $3,500 and an additional $2,000, which will always be unsubsidized. They can be deferred while they're in school, at which point there's a 6-month grace period, then payments begin. On the front of the purple handout, you'll notice the different types of loans. As I said, standard freshman loan is $3,500 plus $2,000, and it does increase as you go on in school. Sophomores get $4,500 plus $2,000, and then juniors and seniors $5,500 and $2,000. Now, if a parent tries to help the student by applying for a Parent Plus loan and they are denied, then the student will receive an additional unsubsidized loan from the government. So in the lower half of the screen, you'll see the $3,500 for freshmen plus $2,000, and then there's a plus $4,000. So that's an additional $4,000 unsubsidized loan the student will receive from the government. And that can happen freshman and sophomore year, and then when they're a junior and senior, it goes up to $5,000. Requirements for direct loans. If you accept any portion of the federal loans, the student rather, they have some homework to do. And on page 2 of the purple handout, you'll see the detailed instructions for the entrance counseling at the top of the page, and underneath that is the master promissory note. The entrance counseling is an online tutorial that the student has to do. They just want to make sure they understand they're borrowing loans and they have to pay them back. This is from the federal government. It takes about 30 minutes of uninterrupted time. They cannot save it halfway through, and it must be completed by the student. The parents, sometimes they want to help and do it for them, but we do not recommend that because it is an eye-opening experience to do the tutorial, and it talks about the consequences of loan default and not paying your loans back. And if a student has any items that are not finished, such as the entrance counseling and master promissory notes, the loans will not be credited to their account, and it's the most common question I hear in October when they're looking for a refund if they have one coming and it's not there. It's because they missed something and they didn't do it. And I will also become their very best friend by sending out weekly emails reminding them to do the entrance counseling and the master promissory notes. So tell them not to ignore their emails. And as they referenced earlier, it is very important that they read everything from us. Now, the entrance counseling and master promissory note are both done on the same website, studentloans.gov. They're done by the student with their FAFSA PIN number and other personal identifying information. And once these are done, they're good for 10 years, so they should not have to do them again. Now, if a parent wants to apply for a Parent Plus loan, they can do this also on the same website. It's the most common question I get from parents is, this is how much, excuse me, the education or the school year is going to cost. This is how much you're giving me. There's a gap. It's not covering everything. How do I take care of that? How do I pay for it? And there's 2 very popular ways of doing that. And as I mentioned, the one is the Parent Plus loan. This loan is taken out by the parent for the student. It can be deferred until they're done with school, at which point there's a 6-month grace period, then payments begin. The application process takes 5 minutes. Seriously. It's done online. And then the information is transmitted to us the following day, and then we will add it to the student's financial aid package, and everything will be updated. Now, If for some reason a parent is denied, as I mentioned earlier, the student will receive an additional unsubsidized loan from the government. And occasionally we'll have a situation where the parents have good credit, but they're just not in a position to pay the loan back. If that's the case, give me a call, we can talk about it, and there's a way we can override the approval to a denial and give them the extra loan. But this is done on a case-by-case basis. Now, the PLUS loan is a fixed interest rate at 7.21%. It's easier to get than your standard federal or standard private loan or mortgage or personal loan or car loan. The limits are tied directly to the cost of attendance, and when the application is being completed, they're going to ask you for a specific amount. If you don't know that, then you can just choose the maximum as allowed by school, and we will figure out the maximum amount and put it in their financial aid package for them. Now, there is a fee for this loan. It's 4.288% until September 30th, and it does increase slightly from October 1st on. You have to take this fee into consideration in determining the amount that you need, otherwise you will end up short, and you'll call our office wanting to know why you owe a couple $100 because you borrowed exactly what you needed, not realizing that the fee was coming out of it. The fee, however, is paid back by the parent when they start payment. The disbursements, we suggest you borrow for the entire year. Then we will split it equally, half in the fall and half in the spring. The interest begins to accrue from the time the loan money is sent to the school. Repayment, as I mentioned, is deferred until after they're done with school. However, you do have an option of making the payments while they're in school. The choice is totally up to you. Some parents will figure out what they know they can comfortably afford in a payment plan. Say they want to do $500 a month, so we'll set up a payment plan for that amount, and then they'll take out a Parent Plus loan or the other private loan to cover the difference. So you can mix things up. You're not locked into one. Now, what I like about the Parent Plus loan is there's no employment or income requirement. It's based on credit history only. So if a parent happens to have lost their job, as long as their credit's okay, they can still get this loan. And then hopefully the student can pay it back for you when they're done with school, or your situation's improved and you are working when repayment begins when they're done with school. Now, to apply for the Parent Plus loan, you go to the same website that the students do their master prom note and entrance counseling. It's the studentloans.gov, and you need a FAFSA PIN number. Now, if you don't have one, you can apply for one. You can create it right then and there on the website. The application process takes 5 minutes, and we will know the very next morning. Now, what's nice about the Plus loan as well is that there is a lot of flexibility. So if you apply for, say, $10,000 and you realize shortly into the semester that you need a little bit more, you can call me personally or email me and ask me to increase the Plus loan for you. You do not have to go through another credit application. But only the parent that applied for the original Plus loan can request an increase or a decrease in the loan. The other parent cannot, and certainly not the student. They can't come into my office and say, I need some more money, increase my parent's loan. Can't do that. The other option is a private credit-based alternative loan. This one is different than the Plus loan because it is based on income, credit, and employment, at least 2 years of each. I don't know any high school senior who's going to be a freshman here that has that income, credit, and employment requirement. So as a result, the parent or somebody else in the family usually will co-sign for the student, and then they look at the income, credit, and employment of the co-applicant. Now, the loan can also be deferred until they're done with school, and then payments begin 6 months later. Now, we have a preferred lender list, and most of them offer options where you can have the co-signer removed from the loan at a later date after they've made so many consecutive on-time payments. So the student would graduate, they begin the payments. After 2 or 3 years of payment history, on time, regular payments, they can apply to have the loan refinanced in their own name, and you're not locked into it forever. Now, this is our preferred lender list. I've personally reviewed each one of these private loan institutions. Any one would be a good choice if you decided to go this route. And it's in, again, the student's name. So you can go to the website at the bottom of the page, elmselect.com, and you can compare up to 3 of these side by side. You can apply either online or on the phone, but if the student is doing it with you as the co-applicant, we suggest you do it together. While if you do it over the phone, it makes the process a lot easier. This way they can talk to the student, get their information, and then again talk to the parent. Now, this is an example of Wells Fargo's fixed rate loan versus PNC's variable rate loan, and you can see how the interest rates can vary quite a bit. The fixed rate is comparable to the Parent Plus loan, usually around 6.5%, and it can go all the way up to, say, 10 or 12%. And then the variable rate loans, if you happen to have excellent credit history, the variable rate loans can start as low as, say, 2.5%, 3%. But again, it is variable, subject to change. And if you're not the type of person who likes surprises down the road, you might want to lock in at a fixed rate instead of a variable rate. Now, the interest rates are currently fixed for the subsidized and unsubsidized loans at 4.66%, and the Parent Plus loan is fixed at 7.21%. And again, that is fixed as well. Now, just to recap, there's the federal loans for the student, which is the result of the FAFSA. There's the private loan that we talked about under the student's name with a cosigner, and then there's the Parent Plus loan, which is also a federal loan in the parent's name for the student.
Just as a reminder, like us on Facebook, Niagara University Student Accounts, or Student Records and Financial Services, if I could get that right. And this does conclude our formal presentation.